Welcome, everyone. LanceScurvX here, the Scurv podcast. You know, I saw a video short the other day that was very interesting. And the subject of it was how Frank Sinatra opened up the doors for Black people to lodge in hotels in America. Now, I heard a piece of this story, but I didn't get all of it. So it pretty much explained it. Now, if you're on LanceScurvX, you'll see it in red letters. Just click on it, you'll see the whole story. And if you're on YouTube or other social media platforms, I'll just drop it right there where you can see it so you can understand it completely. But the bottom line was, there's a hotel named the Hampton Hotel. I believe this was in Miami. And also, I know that there's one in Orlando, Florida. I don't know if there's any other ones, but from what I'm hearing, Black folks were allowed to lodge in those hotels, but none of the other ones. You see, these are things that people just don't understand. And this is not a long time ago when you think back to the 60s. You know, that I was born in 63, so this is what is part of my lifetime. Even if it wasn't, even if it was hundreds of years ago, it's still my lineage. But these stories are very important to talk about. And Frank Sinatra used his power, you know, as a performer, as a superstar at the time, to say, hey, if you cannot allow Black people to come and lodge at these hotels, then I'm not going to perform. And he took this whole movement to Las Vegas, Nevada, where, you know, it has more hotels than anywhere else in America. Orlando, Florida is up there too. I think it's like the number 2, but it's more of a family-friendly destination with Disney. But Las Vegas is a whole different ball game. But that was, I mean, this is what he did. And I'm quite sure there are people who he knew that didn't like that. You know what I mean? But he was one who used his power, right? So this is why I titled this segment, Why Don't People Use Their Power? The simple action that could have ended segregation. There is a truth that many don't want to face. It's not hidden. It's not complex. It's not something buried or locked behind some secret system. And I'm talking about today. It's simple. And because it's simple, it exposes something deeper about human behavior that makes people uncomfortable. Because even though we can lodge in hotels all over America as melanated people, there's still a lot of things that are going on that many people choose not to do, right? But yet they say they love everybody. We live in a world where people say they want change. They talk about fairness. They talk about justice. They say they believe in equality. But when the moment comes to act in a way that costs them almost nothing, suddenly things get complicated. See, it didn't cost Frank Sinatra anything at all. If anything, it made him more popular with a wider audience, right? But let me make this clear from the start. I'm not talking about laws or governments now. I'm not talking about politicians or policies. I'm talking about everyday people, regular people, the ones who say that's wrong, but keep walking away. See, that's the invisible population of people who just don't give a damn secretly. History has already shown us what works. It has shown us what changes systems and what keeps them alive. And the truth is, systems don't survive only because of those who openly support them. They survive because of those who quietly go along with them. That's the part people don't want to admit, because it means the power was always there. And if the power was always there, then the question becomes very uncomfortable. Why wasn't it used? Let's strip this down to the core. You don't need a protest. You don't need a speech. You don't need a movement with signs and slogans. All you have to do is refuse to participate. If a place treats people unfairly, don't go there. If a system excludes people, don't support it. If a business disrespects people, don't spend money there. That's it. No shouting, no marching, no risking your life. Just a simple decision. I'm not taking part in this. Now imagine if a large number of people made that same simple decision at the same time. Not everyone. It doesn't take everyone. Just a strong percentage. 30%, 40%, even half. That's enough to make a dent. Because businesses don't run on opinions. They run on participation. They run on money. They run on people showing up. The moment a noticeable chunk of people stop showing up, the pressure begins immediately. And here's the key part. The people applying that pressure lose almost nothing. They give up a little comfort, maybe a little entertainment, maybe a little convenience, but that's it. Meanwhile, the system they are pressuring starts to feel real consequences. So the idea that change requires massive sacrifice from everyone is not always true. Sometimes it just requires a refusal to play along. That's it. Think of it like this. You're sitting in a room. The solution is right there in your hand. A remote control. The batteries are fresh. Everything's working. All you have to do is press a button. But instead of pressing that button, you start doing everything else. You stand up, you walk around, you check the back of the TV, you look for problems that don't exist, you delay, you stall, you distract yourself. Why? Because pressing that button would actually change something. That's what passive behavior looks like. It's not always loud. It's not always hateful. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like delay. Sometimes it looks like good intentions with no action behind them. But at the end of the day, the result is the same. Nothing changes. And when nothing changes, systems that should have ended continue to operate. And that's sad. There are people who openly support unfair systems. That's obvious. But they are not the only reason those systems survive. The bigger force is the silent majority, the people who don't agree with the system, but still participate in it. The people who shake their heads in private, but show up in public. That kind of behavior sends a clear message, even if it's not spoken out loud. It says, this is acceptable enough for me to continue. And systems don't need full support to survive. They just need enough participation. That's why small acts of refusal matter so much, because they interrupt that participation. They break the pattern. They force a response. Without that interruption, nothing shifts. It's easy to say you care. It's easy to speak against injustice. It's easy to post, to talk, to express feelings, but real impact shows up in choices. Where you go, what you support, what you refuse. Those are the things that move systems. If someone says they care, but they never change their behavior, then what they say and what they do are not aligned. And when that gap exists, the system keeps running exactly as it was. Because systems don't respond to words, they respond to patterns. This isn't about blaming every single person. It's about understanding how change actually happens. It's about recognizing that power doesn't always look like loud action. Sometimes it looks like quiet refusal. And it's about facing the uncomfortable truth that many of the biggest changes in history could have happened faster if more people chose to act in simple, consistent ways. Not dramatic ways, not dangerous ways, just intentional ways. Because at the end of the day, the question is not whether people had the power. The question is whether they chose to use it. The truth is, change doesn't always require a revolution. Sometimes it requires a decision, a clear, simple decision to stop supporting what you know is wrong. And that decision, when shared by enough people, becomes force. Not loud voice, not violent voice, but effective force. We have to stop pretending that power is out of reach. It's not. It's in everyday choices. It's in participation. It's in what people are willing to walk away from. When people say they want change but refuse to take even the smallest step toward it, that contradiction tells a story. And that story needs to be examined honestly, because systems don't just exist on their own. They are fed, they are supported, they are maintained by the actions of people who choose comfort over disruption. And until that choice changes, the system stays exactly where it is. This is why they have laws on paper that are not honored, that are side-eyed, that are ignored, that in this day and age, things are still happening that should have been taken away. But because people choose to ignore it, it keeps everything going in full force. I know this. I was born and raised in America, and I know this for a fact. And from what I see, those systems are going strong. Anyway, I hope this stokes conversation and thought. Let me know what you think. On to the next one. LanceScurv out. Peace.